What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about some of the God of War fans going too far. Now, I struggle to make these videos, or I guess I should say I normally don't like to make these videos because one thing I am pretty vocal on, both here, both on my Twitter, right? I kind of speak up quite often on this stuff. I don't like to believe, because I don't, that the people that do these things are the majority, right? I'm not necessarily saying that, like, highlighting them is a bad thing, because technically I'm doing that right here, right? I don't want to call myself out, but, that's kind of where I've always come from with, when people were upset with The Last of Us Part 2 story, or God of War, right? When these things happen, I like to think that the most extreme cases are nut jobs. They are lunatics. They are people that I pray are not on my channel. I don't want anything to do with them. And I don't say that as a way of, like, covering my back. I say that as just, like, I literally could care less about these people. I don't want them around. And I'm talking about the people that send certain threatening things to people, right, to Corey, to whatever. There was a one worker of God of War Ragnarok that tweeted out that people are sending her, let's say, inappropriate body images, let's say, and saying, like, hey, I'll give you these, or I'm gonna send these, and you give me a release date now. It's like, those people are the scum of the earth. I don't even really know what to say about those people, but again, like, I like to make these videos to also make sure I say that, though, like, those people are nuts, but I like to believe that most people are not. Now, I do think the God of War community is a wild bunch in and of itself, which is okay, and I've never been against voicing an opinion, okay? I'm a big advocate for that, both on my own channel, for people that agree with me, disagree with me. I'm fine with that, and that's what I hope to see. Like, now, Twitter is like hell on earth, right? Twitter is like the worst. Twitter kills all of us slowly every single day. Now, I love it. It's an addiction problem. I love to see numbers rise. I love to go on Twitter, and Twitter has really helped the channel in a lot of ways as well. But I mean, I'm not going to pretend like Twitter is good for anybody's mental well-being. Twitter is probably killing every single one of us, specifically mentally, every single day. Twitter also kind of brings out just the absolute worst in probably everybody, right? You say things, you do things on Twitter that you would never do in the real life, because Twitter's not actually the real life, right? Twitter is some imaginary landscape where people try to pretend that Twitter is something that it's actually not, right? Twitter is not really a good sample size of, like, a population that people like to think it is, right? All of this kind of stuff. I guess this is becoming a retrospective on Twitter. But no, I mean, what's going on here is disgusting, and it shouldn't happen. I've said this before in live streams and other videos, but obviously it makes a lot of sense to say it here. I get disappointment. I think that's what makes me very different than a lot of other YouTubers or a lot of other personalities, which I have a strong personality. I don't really consider myself a personality, right? But like on Twitter or on YouTube or whatever, where, again, like, if you disagree or you have a problem with something, I think you're more than allowed, considering that's what it's for, to voice your concern or voice your opinion. I think if you thought The Last of Us Part 2 story sucked, you should be allowed to say, hey, I hated The Last of Us Part 2 story. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Saying something like that and having somebody tell you, like, oh, well, you're toxic. Or even, let's do God of War, considering that's the topic here, right? You go on Twitter and you write, like, I'm bummed, I'm disappointed that God of War Ragnarok didn't get a release date. Like, that sucks, I'm disappointed. If anybody calls you out for that, that's their problem. You're just saying what you feel. I really don't think there's anything wrong with that, considering you're just voicing your own opinion, your own emotion. I've tried to make that clear. Like, I do get God of War means something to people. I do get that, if God of War is in trouble, say it's in trouble, and, it's the only game you're buying going into the fall, and say it gets delayed, that factually impacts you more than impacts me. I mean, I have, like, 15 games I'm playing in October. November is going to be packed. Like, it doesn't matter to me all that much. Sure, God of War is one of my most anticipated games coming out in the future in general, but I'll supplement it with something else, right? So it's not really going to do much to me, but I do give in that it does, it means, I guess, in that way, it means more to others than me. Now, that does not give you the right to send anything threatening, anything, demanding in that way to anybody. The fact that, and I do believe this, Corey seems to me, based off interviews, and yeah, yes, I don't know the guy personally, but everything that I can kind of tell from the guy, he really does seem like a kind of down-to-earth, like just a normal guy. He goes through stuff, right? Twitter slowly is killing him as well. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he just seems like just a normal person who happens to have a very powerful position. Even though, by the way, he's not even the director of God of War Ragnarok, by the way. But, the fact, I guess what I'm trying to say, when he posts these Twitter comments, right, or these Twitter posts, I believe he means it. And also, I kind of like the way that he approaches it, where he kind of always approaches it through kindness, where he's like, I feel like we're kind of almost in sync, where I feel I get from him that he gets it too. He knows that people love this game. He knows people want it. And he admitted, he's like, if it was up to me, I'd show you everything today. I'd show you what we have right now. But that's not how it works, and I'm not in control of that. Just like, and that's the case with everybody. Everybody at Sony or any Sony studio like that is beholden to that rule. So I do like his approach to it, but I also, these are sometimes, right? Sometimes like clout chasers, let's say, and this is it's a case-by-case example thing. But, there's sometimes people that will say, oh my God, I got all these like threatening things, on Instagram DMs or on Twitter. Like, they're saying all these things to me. They never show any proof. It seems very unlikely that any of that stuff actually happened to them. They're just doing it to like stir it up, to be like, hey, I was threatened, I was whatever, and really they're making it up. I believe that. Not every case, it's a case-by-case thing, but I do believe they're out there. I really don't think anybody's lying here for God. I really don't think anybody, so if anybody thinks that, in my opinion, I don't think anybody's making up the kind of stuff that they're getting. I believe people are sending that one, female worker certain things that is just disgusting. As like, why in God's name are you doing that? And she made a good point. It's like, when has that ever worked? Have you ever sent pictures to somebody in a gaming, studio, and have they ever responded with like, looking good, here's the release date? Like what in God's name were you planning to obtain from doing that? It's funny, but it's also like, put yourself in that person's shoes. I mean, it must be literally horrifying. You know what I mean? It's like, why do people? Again, it's kind of like a full circle thing, because you say, well, why do people do it? Well, it means things to certain people. Some people just have some bolts that aren't really all that well tightened up there, and again, people are so, what's the word? They're so like they feel freer on Twitter more than they would, again, like in real life. Like people. Not overwhelmingly. Well, I don't know. And I don't even mean this as like an attack. People are more cowardly. I think overwhelmingly, everybody is probably way more cowardly in real life than they act on Twitter. I think that's probably a very easy assumption to make. Again, a lot of people say things on Twitter that you would never hear them say in real. You have that. It's the same thing even for YouTube comments, right? The people, if we're bringing myself into it, right? Like, there's criticism, then there's people that like just say some really stupid stuff, right? And it's like, I don't think that they would say those things to my face. Now, by the way, I'm not an intimidating guy. I can defend myself, but I'm not an intimidating guy. But it's like, I just don't think humanity, I don't think we act that way to each other when you literally see each other face to face. We just don't. You're more, not even necessarily cowardly, but it's like I don't know, there's like a person-to-person thing that you kind of respect that. That is not the case online. So that's a big, where is this video going? I'm talking about Twitter. I'm talking about, psychology. But in reality, I think that's a big part of it, where people are just more free to do these things that they would never do. And then you couple it with the gaming industry is full of people that are very engaged and very excited. Also, there's a lot of kids, too. I mean, that's not necessarily, depends, like children. I'm talking like there's a lot of 11, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds. There's a lot of them that play games. I'm sure a lot of them are probably the one. Now, it's funny when people show kind of the evidence sometimes, and it looks like grown men sending these things. I mean, again, like these people need to get their brains checked. They need to go to the doctors. That's just somebody who just, again, doesn't have it all there, thinks there's some sort of tough person by doing it online when they would never do that to somebody, to their face. That's what it is. And I guess you can also couple it, finally, not just the gaming industry, not just people that have, loose screws, not just children or teenagers mixed with adults, but then also like God of War. Like, this doesn't happen. I guess there's scales, right? Smaller the game, probably smaller the backlash you would receive. Whereas as you go up, a game such as God of War Ragnarok, I mean, it's big. It's going to sell millions and millions and millions of copies. It is Sony's next big thing. Like Spider-Man, in my opinion, whether Spider-Man is better than God of War, that's a separate thing. Spider-Man sells more than God of War. Spider-Man 2, in my opinion, Spider-Man 2 will outsell God of War Ragnarok. So it's not the biggest thing Sony has, but it's one of them. And it's also the next one, right? The one that's coming up next. Horizon, I just don't even think is as big as God of War, and Horizon I don't think would have, well, Horizon we had the whole thing with like Aloy's face model, but never something I think to this stretch, or as far as we got in for Ragnarok. So like I said, it's disappointing. It's something that I don't even, I consider making videos on when I see these kind of things, but I like to believe, and even though I, just spent, 8, 9, 10 minutes talking about it, I'm very firm on this. This is not the majority. It's not. And that's what annoys me, right? When people, again, do that for clout, or they post things, or they're doing it on purpose, right? I hope the people that are genuinely, like a Cory Barlog, and I think, I would think he knows this. I would hope that although him and other people at that studio have been, going through stuff from the fans, whatever those fans are, whoever they are, right? I hope they realize that, like, that is not the majority. That's not a small sample size that reflects how everybody is. I think you can have a reflection of disappointment. I think an overwhelming amount of people are disappointed that say we didn't get anything on June 30th. But the amount of people that took it to the next, the people that took it to the next level, that is not even close to, because also you have to remember, final thing, you also have to remember, like I said in the very beginning, like, not everybody is on Twitter. Twitter is not entirely representative of the world. There are very normal, average Joes that buy God of War Ragnarok that do not go. And I always bring up I have a very close friend that I've known since 9th grade in high school that's like that. He watches maybe the first trailer that any game were to put out, like Uncharted 4. He watched the first trailer, nothing else. He doesn't go on Twitter. He knows I have a YouTube channel, all that stuff, but he doesn't watch, like detailed stuff. He does, like, he's not in it, but he buys the games. He buys quite a few games. So I think there's a lot of people like that, and those people exist outside of Twitter. So Twitter is not, reflective of my friend. Twitter is not reflective of me. Those people are nut jobs, right? Right? And again, Twitter slowly kills you. With that being said, I have a Twitter. I like my Twitter. I like my Twitter community for the most part. So if you guys want to follow me there or follow me anywhere else, they're all in the description below. But thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed, bell icon, all that good stuff. And I hope to see you all on the next video.